Da-da-da-da, Hey everybody, John Smale here again. How are you doing? Uh, Nice sunny, cold day today, but uh, I was I'm doing a show today on Hamilton. My son says Hamilton the play, like Broadway, and I said no, Hamilton the city, Hamilton the city in the '70s. Now, Hamilton always takes a ribbing, you know. It's sort of a blue collar town then in those days when Stelco was really bopping along, and I come from Sault Ste. Marie, which is another steel town, so maybe identified with it. That was Algoma steel in the Sioux. Now, Hamilton then and Hamilton now is certainly different. Hamilton is like it's a bedroom community of Toronto. I mean, it's almost part of the GTA. When house prices went up in the GTA, people started moving further afield, moving further west, moving further east, and you can see on this little map I put here, you can sort of see where Toronto is, and then Hamilton is along Lake Ontario, and it's there, and then London, Ontario, where Smalespace was here in southwestern Ontario. So that's where Hamilton is for those viewers who are not familiar with Ontario. Now, in those days, there were a couple places of interest in the folk music scene in Hamilton. There was the Night 2 Coffee House, and on the ground floor was the Canvas Gallery. And the Night 2 Coffee House was run by Bill and Lynn Powell. Bill and Lynn were just a bit older than me, and they were seemed like they were doing a lot of parenting, even though they had two kids. A lot of nurturing was going on around that place with their sense of family. Now, it was on Augusta Street, and for those not familiar with Hamilton, in those days, Hess Village was sort of more of a gentrified area. Augusta had some galleries on it, some cafes and bars, etc. And you walked upstairs to the coffee house. It was a smallish room, stacking chairs, if I recall, kind of a multi-purpose space. And I saw some really, oh yeah, let me talk about Paul Campbell. Paul Campbell had a coffee house in town called Campbell's, eponymously named Campbell's. And I really identified with Paul. He was great. He was a singer-songwriter and guitar player himself, so he brought that to the stage. But we shared a lot of acts that we booked together, and so did Night 2. And when I didn't get a chance to travel a lot. I mean, I was also running a coffee house, so when did I have a chance to get to Hamilton all that often, or to other cities? I just made a point of doing it so that I could meet with people and propose some ideas of co-working together, I suppose. And I really felt it was my duty to introduce myself and to meet them and see their places and see, as I say, if we could work together. Now, Hamilton was home to a lot of people, besides Eugene Levy, Marty Short, and things like that, but a really strong musician base. Stan Rogers was a regular at the Night 2, for example. Gord Lowe, Michael J. Bartholomew, Michael Lewis, Paul Angile, and both those guys and Stan moved to London. So Jude Johnson was fantastic. I always loved Jude. She had such a great spirit and sense of fun on stage. And Ray Materik, the Deep Boys Ray Materik, had a good recording contract, played Smalespace a number of times. Jason Avery and his wife Karen. And just a little side note here, they had a wonderful daughter named Rachel, and Rachel did her doctorate degree at McGill. And she wrote a great tome, a great paper on the folk music scene in the 1970s. I'm going to do a whole show on Rachel. That's how dynamic of a not a report. It was her thesis that she wrote. So and then back to the musicians. Jackie Washington, Mr. Hamilton himself. What a delightful man Jackie Washington was. His memory will live on forever. humorous, had a vocabulary of 3,000 songs, knew all the lyrics, loved all the musicians. If you told him it was your birthday on January 15th, he knew it 3 years later. Oh, John, how was your birthday on January 15th? You know, one of those delightful guys. Bob and Dan Lanois, the Lanois brothers of music production fame, were in Hamilton at that time. And, well, they went on to, record so many albums. And then Dan moved the studio to New Orleans because he was so darn famous with the likes of Bob Dylan and oh god, so many artists that he recorded. It's silly. In 1977, I believe, was the first year for Festival of Friends in Hamilton, and my wife Joanne and I were hired to do the bookings for that festival. And I think there were like 50 acts, in the introduction of that festival in beautiful Gage Park, a very leafy downtown park in Hamilton. Hamilton has a lot of nice leafy streets, brick homes. It takes a lot of rap for being a blue-collar town, but it's also a university city, and McMaster University and Mohawk College, or maybe it's not Mohawk. But that was a lot of the crowd that would come to those two coffee houses, Campbell's and Night 2 Coffee House. And Joanne and I even lived briefly in the Hamilton area in Ancaster, Ontario, as neighbors of Kelly J and of his Bad Manners house. Kelly was the leader of the band Crowbar, and we became fast and furious friends. And unfortunately, Kelly passed away this year. A terrific rock and roll icon and real major talent. So, as I say, I didn't get to be in Hamilton a lot at those coffee houses, but when the word I heard from other musicians was they were playing there, so it became part of that circuit. So that's my tour today. I'll tour some other cities with coffee houses and festivals coming up soon. Hope you enjoyed today's episode on Hamilton. Hope I probably left out names because, hey, those who were the 70s, didn't matter where you were, they were still the 70s. Talk to you real soon. Looking at you. Bye-bye.